Welcome to my first ever series on the channel where I talk about the AFL as a whole round, and I'm going to call it Roundly Review AFL. Comment below a better name. Anyways, so we got the Swans taking on the Blues. Now the Swans did beat the Blues by 63 points, 20-12, 120 to 10-9-69. Now, the first half was quite ordinary to watch. However, Carlton were pretty solid earlier, but the Swans, they were goalless in the first quarter with 3 behinds. And the Blues, they kicked 2 goals and led at quarter time by 11 points. Sam Walsh had a solid game with 32 disposals. His kicking efficiency was about 66%, or disposal efficiency, I should say. And the Swans were chasing him and pressuring him in the second half, making him turn it over as well. So another standout player I saw was Cooper Lord throughout the first half. He was everywhere, but he only had 8 touches in the second half, and he was sort of well held, I guess, in a way. On debut was Harry Dean and Jagger Smith. I thought looked pretty comfortable at AFL level. Ollie Foran had 22 disposals, and Will Hayward had 1 goal and 2 behinds. So they're pretty lively, those two, as well as Ben Ainsworth. He did a couple of good things. And, Charlie Curnow, he kicked, 3 goals as well, so he looked solid at the Swans. Now, at halftime scores was 2-6-18 to 4-4-28. The Blues led the inaccurate Swans in the first half. Isaac Heaney got a knee to the head. Now, some people are saying it was on purpose. Obviously, it was not, because they would have been, probably great mates or something like that, and they shared a locker room together for how many years? 6 years, I think, or something like that. So it definitely was by accident. So I thought he was going to be ruled out with a concussion, but however, he came back and had, 2 goals, 20 disposals, which wasn't too bad. Okay, there was a few spot fires and push and shoves everywhere, but he expected that with, Charlie Curnow, Ollie Foran, and Will Hayward switching clubs. So they did the old switcheroo, I guess, in a way. Now, third term, which was a very entertaining quarter, that is for sure. The Swans had 12 goals. I thought they had 13, but no, they had 12 goals in a quarter with 3 behinds as well. Meanwhile, the Blues had, I think, about 4 goals, if I'm not mistaken. 4 goals, 2 behinds. So that was about 16 goals and 5 behinds for the entire third quarter. And the quarter went for about 39 minutes, if I'm not mistaken, which was insane. Now, Swans were just way too good, and the players stood out. For me, was Justin McInerney with 3 goals and 31 disposals. Errol Goulden had 27 disposals and 11 tackles. He's going to be very good this year. James Rowbottom, I liked his game. Curnow played solid with 3 goals too. And another solid performance was Joel Amadi in the forward line. Roberts, Sheldrick, Warner all kicked goals and contributed nicely. Also liked Roses Jr.'s game and his running carry as well when he had the ball, which was pretty exciting. I don't know why Gold Coast did let him go, but at the same time, the Suns aren't doing too bad either. Carlton weren't that bad, but at the same time, the Swans just flicked a gear and they were just unstoppable. So one team is rebuilding and the other team is contending for a flag. So it does make sense. Okay, let's talk about my beloved Cats and taking on the Suns. Now, the Gold Coast Suns beat the Geelong Cats by 56 points, 19-11, 125 to 10-9-69. Now, how good is Christian Petrarca? He was very, very good. And we also had Bailey Humphrey, who actually wanted to get out of the Gold Coast and go to Melbourne, I think it was. And that got rejected, that trade. But he ended up kicking 4 goals. So between those two, 7 goals and 49 disposals between them. Absolute dominant on the half forward. Rack had 34 disposals, 3 goals, while Bailey Humphrey had 4 goals and 15 disposals. The Cats were very, very sloppy and they had so many turnovers. They were also slipping as well. Just didn't need to. A couple of times I think Tom Atkins and a couple of the James Warple as well, a couple other players had the ball and they just slipped at the last second. They just didn't need to do that. Obviously, it's very, very dewy as it was rainy as well and wet, so that didn't help at all. Humidity as well didn't help, but at the same time, you can't make up excuses because Gold Coast were playing the exact same conditions and Victoria more likely used to the slipperiness than the Gold Coast and the interstate teams. Now, the Suns were just on fire. They ran rings around the Cats. Now, Geelong didn't have a ruckman, so Gerald Witts dominated the hitouts and had 52 hitouts. Mike Blitzarves is not a ruckman. He's more likely a halfback winger or mid type player, but he had 18 hitouts as well. The Cats' best player was Tanner Bruin, and how good was it to see him play? And the good thing was nobody booed him, which was awesome. And we'll have a look at the injuries and players who missed. That was Jeremy Cameron, Paddy Dangerfield, Jake Kolajasny, Reece Stanley, Tyson Stengel, and can't forget Jack Bowes. The Suns also didn't have their Brownlow medalist in Matt Renshaw, Matthew Rowell, Charlie Ballard, Jed Walter, and Jake Rogers. So you can't forget those guys. Overall, the Suns looked very sharp and organised, and they're primed for a massive, massive 2026. And the Cats were underprepared. Skill levels were horrendous and disorganised in their defence as well. I mean, the good news is the Cats did win the clearances by +7. Can you believe it or not? I think it was 41 to 34 Gold Coast Suns. And I'm going to quickly rant about the umpiring. 3 deliberates were called against the Cats. I think Jack Henry at one stage handballed the ball. It was a mishandball, bounced, I think, left angle, and the umpire said, yeah, that's deliberate. And I went off my rocket on my live stream. And it wasn't great at all. And now the Suns, they have West Coast, which they should win pretty comfortably and sit 2-0. Now the Cats do take on the Fremantle Dockers at home, so a massive response from them. And I will be doing a matchday vlog. Okay, moving on to the GWS Giants taking on the Hawthorn Hawks, 19-8, 122 GWS to Hawthorn's 14-11, 95. Now, the Giants did look pretty scary and pretty good against the Hawks. The first quarter, the Giants scored 8 goals, 51. You don't really see many 50-plus points in the first quarter at all, even 40 points these days. But Hawks did well to get themselves a few goals out of nowhere. The Wizards kicked about 2 goals, I think, as well. Gunston also had 4 goals, but 5 goals to 32 in the first quarter as well. Now, the Giants came out in the second quarter and added 5 goals and had a good lead of about 35 points. Now, the Hawks did quite well considering that they weren't going to get hammered. Or at one stage, it was 35 points, as I said just then, and it looked like it was going to be a 10-goal plus win for the Giants. But the Hawks did well to hold on, but their defense was just very unorganized. It was not really like Hawthorn, and Hawthorn, I think, nearly had one of the best defenses in the game last season. So it was really, really weird for them to be disorganized, and there's a couple of times where they just didn't go for the mark. Nobody went up, and GWS just got an easy, uncontested mark. So very, very poor. But James Sicily turned it on in the third term with, I think he had 10 to 13 disposals. And he set up a couple of goals. And Lockie Whitfield had 27 disposals. Clayton Oliver enjoying football. How good is it to see? On his GWS Giants debut, he had 26 disposals, a goal, and also he had 9 clearances, even though on the AFL.com.au app, the website, it says he had 10 clearances. So I'm not sure what that is about. Jake Stringer kicked 5 goals and had a great game. Great debut game. No kidding. He obviously did play last year. Jack Gunston had kicked, as I mentioned before, 4 goals. The Wizard Chol had some good moments as well, kicking 2 goals each. It wasn't a bad game to watch, just however, obviously, some sloppy communication errors in the back half. And yeah, it was more so their leaders that made those errors as well. The next game is between the Brisbane Lions versus the Western Bulldogs. This will be hands down the best game of 2026, and believe it or not, I think we have about 199 more AFL matches to come, or something like that. I'm not exactly sure how many, but between that. So, yeah, the intensity was great to watch from the first bounce to the end. Yeah, the score ended up being 16-15, 111 to the Bulldogs, and to the Lions 15-16 and 106. The Lions had 13 more inside 50s and missed a couple of set shots within 35 metres. Now, a couple of the Lions players did take the advantage, and it would have been a certainty goal, and they just stuffed it up. So there's a couple of those. Now, the Lions kicked away in this third term with 6 goals, 2, compared to the Dogs, 4 goals, 4. So Dogs did let some big opportunities go in that third term. However, the Dogs kicked 7 goals in that last term, and they had a great comeback win. Ed Richards is underrated, that is for sure. Lachie Neale had 39 disposals. Dane Zorko gets better with age, and he had 31 disposals with a goal. Charlie Curnow had a great game, and he looked sharp with 4 goals. His speed is very, very good, and he's just on a roll. He's kicked 8 goals in the 2 official AFL games, 4 in the grand final, unfortunately, and 4 against the Dogs. These 2 teams are going to be right at either the top 5 or top 4. That is for sure. About 3 suspensions, but I'll get into that in another video. Suspended, you've got Harris Andrews, Cam Rayner, I'm pretty sure got suspended, and you also had Darcy Gardner. So these are pretty big outs. So we'll see what happens. They'll probably review it, request to review it and stuff. So we'll see what happens there. Also, let's just quickly mention how good was Bailey Williams' goal. Too bad he did kick 4 behinds with his 1 goal, so he could have kicked 5. The mighty game that I attended last night, and I'm recording this at 8:10 p.m. I was meant to get this out at 8 p.m. and life just got ahead of me. Okay, so I attended this game in person, and the mighty MCG, awesome game to watch. Now, I didn't vlog it, I just enjoyed it. Yeah, St Kilda took on the mighty Collingwood Magpies. The Pies beat the Saints by 2 goals, 12 points to be exact, 11-12, 78 to 9-12, 66. Now, the Saints recruits looked very, very sloppy today at times. There was a couple of good moments they did have. Overall, Magpies did really, really well to not only shut down the corridor and make them kick long, but they also manned up very, very well and outworked the St Kilda Saints as well. A couple of the umpiring decisions did cost Collingwood and also St Kilda a couple of goals, but at the same time, it was a pretty good game, and I don't think the umpires had too much of an effect on this game. Now, most of the calls were pretty much spot on, so I'm not going to be complaining or anything like that. Yeah, it was just a really good game. The Dacos brothers combined for a total of 77 disposals, and so, I mean, they just didn't really do anything to stop them, really. I guess they did try, but obviously Nick Dacos is one of the hardest working mids in the competition, and Josh Dacos is Josh Dacos. So, St Kilda did miss quite a few opportunities in front of goal. They also did bomb it inside their forward 50 a few times, and that just didn't work out, and Pies are just all over it. Now, don't forget, Pies did miss Darcy Moore and Jeremy Howe as well, so there was some pretty big losses. I mean, the Saints didn't have a couple of their players. That is the opening round done for the year. Now, the Pies, Giants, Suns, Swans, and the Bulldogs did all get their wins. And then you've obviously got the Saints, Cats, Hawks, and then you had the Blues, and you also had the Lions all losing their first game in opening round. Thanks so much for watching the video. Plenty more content coming your way. Subscribe to the channel. I'll try and be a little bit more prepared with the stats for next episode. Peace.